Good morning, Stokastic baseball fans. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show for Game 1 of the World Series. We finally made it. End of the year, never a good feeling when baseball season ends, at least not for me. I always love baseball season. It's just such a part of like the fabric of life for 6 months, when we're checking these games out every single day of the week. And we've got it, from March through November at this point. It's a very big part of life, but we're down here at the end of the season. Fortunately, hopefully a great World Series to close things out. We've got a great matchup between the Phillies and the Astros. I think these are two loaded lineups that are very well balanced. There's two dynamite pitching staffs on both sides. We can see, just looking at today's game, Aaron Nola against Justin Verlander, a hell of a start, a hell of a matchup of starters. So should be a great series, should be a lot of fun, a lot of good DFS slates. They're not the biggest prize pools in the world, but they pumped them up a little bit, at least for game one on both sites. So a little bit of action going on, even though the NBA and everything else is still going on, hot and heavy. So we'll take a quick look, as we've done the last few times for showdowns. We'll go through the various lineups, talk about the different players, their performances, the stats. It's a lot of, same. If you've been watching these VODs, we're talking about regular season stats that don't really change in the postseason. But, we're going to go through it. We'll take a look at the pricing, see if we can identify any spots where guys are under-owned. And then we'll jump over and we'll try and build a couple single-game showdown lineups. So we'll take a look at all of that. We are brought to you today by our pals over at BetMGM. BetMGM is running a killer, what we're calling a no-brainer promo. It's on all of our stuff behind the scenes. It says no-brainer. I don't know if we're supposed to tell you guys that, but it's a no-brainer. I mean, use your heads, guys. If I tell you that you can take $10 out of your pocket, hand it to somebody, and they'll hand you back $200 guaranteed, you would do that 100 out of 100 times, right? That's what BetMGM is doing for new users. You go over to BetMGM, you sign up, you put a money line bet on any NBA game tonight, and if any team in the league hits a three-pointer, $200. I did a little click thing with my tongue there. I don't know why. I don't know if you could hear it on the microphone, but I did it. It wasn't just a weird pause. MGM didn't ask me to do that, but I'm doing it. BetMGM is going to give you guys $200 of money to bet on their site. So you can load up with this, and then you can bet it all on football over the weekend. Try and really roll it up. You can make smart bets after you got your $200, but it's a great way to just start your bankroll off, guys. $10 gets you $200. Bet any money line. We'll hit that again in a little bit, but let's dive into the baseball stuff. That's what everybody's really here for, I think. We got the old model fired up as usual. These are my projections that we're looking at here. Sites ownership. The ownership that I'm using on this tab is the ownership for the combined for the player in both the captain or the MVP, star, and the util roles. So keep that in mind. These are combined ownership numbers that we're showing. The salaries for the DK purposes are the captain salary. It's the multiplied salary. We'll see everything for the individual stuff when we jump over to the showdown tool. But to start us off, I mean, like I said off the top, just a dynamite pitching matchup. Aaron Nola against Justin Verlander. You can't ask for much more than that. Game one of the World Series. Two of the best pitchers of the last 10 years. Nola this season, 205 innings, a 29.1% strikeout rate, a minuscule 3.6% walk rate, 277 xFIP, a 0.96 whip. There's nothing not to like about Aaron Nola's performance this year. A 32.4 combined call plus swinging strike rate, 12.6% swinging strike rate. Doesn't allow any power, 2.35% home runs, only a 31.6% hard hit rate. It's ridiculous how good this guy is, and he's consistent. If we look at last year's numbers, few fewer innings pitched, 180 and 2/3, but 29.8% strikeout rate, almost matching, 5.2% walk rate, very good. 337 xFIP, little higher, but still excellent. He's very similar swinging strike rate, 12.8% versus 12.6. Aaron Nola is a very proven commodity in Major League Baseball. We know that this guy's an ace. It's just a matter of how much you're paying for him, how much of your roster you want to occupy with salary on the DK slate. These guys aren't available on FanDuel, by the way. I think everybody probably knows if you're playing single games over on FanDuel, it's hitters only, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But we're also dealing with both pitchers, just massive ownership, because it makes sense, right? These are the most likely guys to go out and put up big scores. And even against great lineups like both of these teams have, we are dealing with pitchers of the caliber that I fully expect a low-scoring, deeply pitched ball game by both of these starters. So this is a day where even with great lineups, you kind of want to have, I think, one of these pitchers in most of the lineups that you build, even with the popularity, even with the cost. We'll talk about the upside of having them in a captain spot and maybe alternate ways that you can go with that. But I do think they're going to be critical plays on today's slate. Taking a look on the other side of this one at Justin Verlander, similarly priced, similarly owned, similarly talented. 27.8% strikeout rate with a 4.4% walk rate this season in 175 innings, returning from a year-long absence after Tommy John surgery at age 40. It's almost unheard of. It's not that anyone would ever question the integrity of the Houston Astros, but it begs the question, is this guy just one of the greatest pitchers of all time or is something else going on? I think he's just one of the greatest pitchers of all time. He is just this good. 3.23 xFIP, a 0.83 whip on the season, 11.6% swinging strikes. He also doesn't give up any power, 34.8% hard hit rate, a 1.80% home run rate this season. And these are numbers that go back over time for Justin Verlander over a very long period of time at this point. So we know, again, who this guy is, what we're getting with him. It's Justin Verlander. Sometimes we don't need to think too hard about these things. You can lock in either one of these pitchers into any lineup that you want. If you're considering rostering them, it's excuse me, it's not going to be a bad decision. The only question marks, as I said, are going to be around salary and popularity. Let me take a sip of this coffee in this hand. What you guys can't see off camera over here is that the dog is licking this hand over here. So that's fun. But it's keeping him from barking and interrupting the show. I'm going to interrupt the show right now, though. Cafe Bustelo, another under-the-radar sponsor of this show. Not in payment, but in caffeine. Taking a look at the Philadelphia Phillies lineup, it's basically the lineup that they've been rolling out. We've seen this in a lot of the recent shows where we're looking at showdown slates and we're looking at the postseason. It's a dynamite lineup. They are fairly star-laden. And I've been teasing my Phillies fan friends. A lot of them are really getting onto this bandwagon of, bandwagon. I'm the bandwagon hopper. I'm joining them in rooting for the Phillies over the Astros. I'll throw that right on the table. But a lot of the Phillies fans seem to be treating their team, just because they were bad and underperformed through the first half of the season, seem to be treating their team like scrappy underdogs. This is a team with the fourth highest payroll in baseball. This is a team with absolute stars up and down the lineup and down the pitching staff. This is not an underdog team, but it's a lot of fun to chase that narrative and watch them do it. But Kyle Schwarber, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper at the top. You can't get a better top four than that in all of baseball. They're all expensive. They're all well worth the investment. We can see that three of these guys are projecting out over the magic number for the home run model, which is, again, against Justin Verlander. That stands out to you. When you see that against a pitcher of this caliber, that is, it's kind of a warning sign. I don't think that this is an indicator that this team is going to unload on Justin Verlander, put up 6 runs and chase him early. I just think it's an indicator that one of these guys might have a little bit of a sneakier chance than maybe we think of catching Justin Verlander and hitting 1 home run against him. Not saying all 3 of these guys are going off, not saying Justin Verlander's given up more than 1, but I do think there might be 1 lurk in there, and I think it might be for one of these guys. So Schwarber, Hoskins, Bryce Harper, kind of obvious names. As we go down the lineup with this team, though, we've used these guys quite a bit throughout the season, and then we've talked about them a lot. So hopefully you guys have been using them because they've been playing well in the postseason for the most part. The bottom end of this lineup with Alec Bohm, with Bryson Stott, with Gene Segura, with Brandon Marsh, guys who just compile some counting stats. Alec Bohm, probably the nicest season overall out of the 4 of them. It was a 98 WRC plus, but just in looking at his triple slash 280, 315, 398, 13 home runs, and just a little bit more involved over his 631 plate appearances. He's the everyday player in the group as well. Bryson Stott, very nice, 10 home runs, 12 stolen bases for DFS purposes. That's dynamite. Same story for Gene Segura, 10 home runs, 13 steals. Brandon Marsh, 11 home runs, 10 steals. Gene Segura with a 105 WRC plus, creating runs 5% better than the average player. So that's a standout there at the bottom of the lineup as well. Just guys that you can get to who make things work in a price and ownership. From a price and an ownership perspective, they help offset some of the massive popularity or some of the huge cost. So it depends on what you need. And it depends on what you build in the lineup. And you can see how they function differently from site to site. On DK, these guys are super expensive, and a lot of people are going to be building in these are captain prices, but this is the combined ownership. So Bryce Harper combined across captain and util, we've got projected at 7.8% ownership. I think I want a little bit more Bryce Harper in my life than that if I'm playing a full 150 lineups. So you can find spots like that on DK with the expensive star caliber guys. On FanDuel, where there's no multiplier, you see those guys who just own through the nose, but then the bottom of the lineup gets a little bit more thin.
So it just depends on where you're playing and how you're putting your lineup cards together. If you're leaving pitchers out, I think you certainly on DK exploit the Bryce Harper low ownership in spots like that. Similar with Kyle Schwarber and his low ownership. So I think those are just spots that you can go to again and again if you're leaving the pitchers out. Dynamite lineup on the other side with the Astros, the equally good, if not better, to what the Phillies have to offer, just up and down. Guys who don't strike out a lot. You can see we've got a little bit of aggressive strikeout rate with Martin Maldonado down at the bottom, but we take what we want, what we get with him. He's a 186, 248, 352 catcher who creates runs 30% worse than average, but he's a dynamite defensive catcher. That's why he's in there. And then you've got Mancini and McCormick down at the bottom now, both over 20. But look at the middle of the lineup here. I mean, just deadly hitters in Jordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, Kyle Tucker. Julie Gurriel struggled this season, but does not strike out. These guys just put the ball in play like crazy. Pena had an aggressive strikeout rate at 24.2%, but a rookie dynamite season out of him, 22 home runs, 11 steals, 2% better than average creating runs. He strikes out a little bit and doesn't walk all that much, but all of these other guys, strikeout rate, walk rate, strikeout rate, walk rate, just killer bats up and down this lineup. And then you talk power, 28 home runs out of Altuve with 18 stolen bases. Monumental DFS upside. A guy created runs 64% better than average. I said it last week and I'll say it again. Jose Altuve, I think, has gotten to the point where he's so good that he's kind of underrated by the DFS community. I don't think we give this guy his due anymore. He's popular, like he gets still a little bit of star caliber treatment on some things, but I feel like we don't talk about Jose Altuve enough for what he does on the field. It's just a killer season this year. Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, the two killer lefties, massive power upside for both of those guys. You can see those are the two guys who are above the magic number in the home run model here again. So again, it's the same story. I think maybe that's an indicator that one of these guys can get to NOLA. We've got a better shot against the Philly bullpen, depending on how much of the Philly bullpen we even see. I think they're going to try and get Aaron Nola as deep into this game as possible, but those are the guys I'm looking for a home run from. And then you've got a similar story in the back middle part of this lineup with Gurriel, Trey Mancini, Chas McCormick, guys I call out a decent amount. They're not, well, actually, no, the prices are fairly comparable, 99, 9,000. They're actually a little cheaper than the guys in the Phillies lineup, a little bit more popular because there's maybe a little bit more upside with some of these guys. You get Julie Gurriel, last year's batting title winner in the American League, struggled through this season, but he's come alive a little bit in the postseason. And then you get two above average WRC plus, two above average run creators who both have power. Chas McCormick, underrated. Trey Mancini has struggled to find his former stroke. He had the issues with the park configuration changes in Baltimore, came to Houston, and the park really does fit his swing very nicely. So I expect some upside out of Trey Mancini here, despite what the overall season numbers might show us. So just great options up and down the lineup, very cheap on FanDuel and only in the 5,000s. You've got options on the Philly side that are very cheap on FanDuel as well, and not as popular. Same thing, same mechanism that we saw on the FanDuel slate. Alex Bregman, for example, on DK going 8.6% owned because of an advanced salary and not necessarily the most appealing go-to bat there when you're building in, combined with some of these aggressive pitcher pricings. But if you leave pitcher out, you want to build in some low-owned Aaron Nola, some low-owned Alex Bregman into your life there. On the FanDuel side, the stars get all the attention. The guys at the bottom of the lineup, a little bit less so. If you're looking for a wild card on FanDuel, I think our guy's Martin Maldonado again. You get him at 12-ish% ownership. There's home run upside. 15 homers on the season. You can't really ignore that in 379 plate appearances. He's not good at hitting the baseball, but when he makes contact, he can drive it. And a guy who's going to go that low owned is potentially, and especially at that price at 4,500, that could be a key to unlocking some upside here. If you look at the other side, like Brandon Marsh at the same price at 4,500, he's going to be essentially twice as owned. So that's your uncomfortable wild card spot for large field tournaments, I think, is Martin Maldonado on the FanDuel side. On DK, he's where you need catchers. He's going to be 35% popular. So not quite the same story over there. JT Realmuto on DK, only 14% popular. Probably a little smarter investment for the catcher over on that site. With that, we will chat one more time real quick. I'm going to remind you guys that BetMGM has this killer promo going on. It's bet $10 on any NBA money line tonight, and you get $200 if anybody in the league hits a three. I haven't actually looked this up, but since they introduced the three-point line, I cannot imagine that there are many games. I'm not going to say none, because probably, some weird outlier in like 1986 that had no three-pointers made for some reason. But there are not many nights since they invented the three-point shot where nobody's made a three. If anyone in the league hits a three and you've got this $10 as a new user over at BetMGM on a money line in an NBA game, you're going to get $200. Free money. Go get it. BetMGM. We'll take a look at the Showdown tool that I built. Same story as the last couple times. Let me make sure that's showing on the screen. It is fantastic. So we'll do a DK lineup, and we're just kind of taking a look, guys. These aren't necessarily, dead-on builds that should be entered in tournaments. We're kind of more just exploring, hey, what happens if we do this? What does this look like? So we'll start out on that token with one of the pitchers, since I do think they're going to be so critical tonight. Let's put one of the pitchers in the captain spot for a DK lineup over here. I need both hands for this, so the dog's over here like, why'd you stop petting me, dude? So I don't know if you're going to hear him whining, but if you do, that's why. Keep it down, Joker. Go lie down, pal. Good boy. All right. Aaron Nola in the captain spot. That's giving us a big wallop of salary and ownership off the top. We've got that immediately drops us to 5,200 to spend, down from an average of 8,300 to spend. So you can see the impact that putting a pitcher in the captain role on DK has immediately for both your ownership and your salary availability. So now we're immediately looking at some lower cost guys. And let's see what we've got to work with here. Are these pulling the captain's salary, aren't they? Bear with me one sec here again. I'm not sure why this is pulling the captain's salary. No, who cares? We'll figure it out. So let's see. All right. So if we're using Nola in the captain spot, let's grab some Phillies real quick. I just mentioned JT Realmuto being a lower owned guy in the catcher role here. And again, I realize I said you need catchers on DK, and I'm just thinking that through. These are all util positions, so obviously you don't need catchers on DK for this. But I'm going to use him anyway because he's a killer bat, and he's going to be too low owned for his position in the batting order, and for his talents, and for honestly the cost as well. I think he is usable. I guess these must be the base prices. That can't be right. No, this is multiplying. That's why. All right. I need to fix this. This is not drawing the right A2 to A04. Why is it drawing the... Bear with me. Oh, that's why. I'm supposed to... I realize what I did. The reason I'm putting the DK salary over here, not just using the one from over here, is because I was putting only the util ones in here. So let me figure the best way to do that. This is fun broadcasting. Give me half a sec here, guys. This won't take all that long. Just need to do this. And now we'll have the correct util pricing over here. There we go. All right. That makes more sense. All right. So what I was saying about the impact that Nola has on the salary is still true, but it doesn't drop quite as far as the precipitous number that we had before. That's what triggered me to thinking that something was off here. So we can see with the 15.9, with the correct multiplied salary of 15.9, that drops us to an average of 68 per position. I'm going to go back to JT Realmuto, who I do still think makes some sense here. Right, so we can use Realmuto, and we're saving a little bit of ownership. Let's find some correlated pieces here. I mean, that is a cheap price for Rhys Hoskins here. Let's build in some Rhys Hoskins. We'll put those two guys together. Hoskins is not unpopular, but he's cheap, so I do like that. 59 left on the board here. We try and grab another Phillies bat down here, but we're seeing Brandon Marsh 5,000. We could shoot for the wraparound play with Brandon Marsh here at 5,000, but he's pretty popular at 41%. So that's going to do some damage to our potential uniqueness here. Let's see on the other side if we want to go. Maybe we'll go Bryson Stott. I mean, we could try. I don't think we can fit Harper into this. The 6.8% ownership on Harper is obviously appealing. 9.6 for Schwarber in the util spot there as well. 4,000 a piece. Can't do that. So we can't afford either of those guys there. You know what? I don't want to do that. I realize I'm doing a lot of start and stop on this, but I'm trying to think it through and find something good to show here. All right, so let's drop down. take some pieces out of here, realizing that we do have Aaron Nola on the hill there, and we might need to shave some of this salary. Challenging lineup builds today. So we're 59. So you could do like something like that. And 59 left. So, I mean, we could use Brandon Marsh. We could use Martin Maldonado, and that's about it. So let's try and cut this a little bit by wiping Rhys Hoskins out. And instead of Rhys Hoskins, let's use like Alec Boehm here. It gives us 69. So we could go like Boehm Stott or Boehm Segura if you wanted. So that's all right. I mean, it's again, it's not really looking for a killer lineup. What I kind of want to show more is just, you know, some of these uniqueness. So even with a lowish owned Stott, a low owned JT Realmuto, we're still only building out a 1 in 7,300 lineup here. See if we can do a little bit better. Some of this back end here. There's not a lot of different ways to take that though. That's the challenge. So all right, instead of doing that, let's see. Instead of using a pitcher in the captain role, let's go with one of the stud hitters in the captain spot. So if we go with Bryce Harper, we're immediately super low owned in the captain role, and we're dealing with a 7,000 average salary remaining. So we're already just, you know, we've got so much upside in this lineup. So now you really can grab like correlated bats from the top end of the Phillies. Let's grab Realmuto again because he's low owned. Grab cheap Rhys Hoskins and stack the top of the Phillies here. You're getting a lowish owned Bryce Harper in the captain spot. You don't have to worry about, all right, how many of each team am I getting? Because you've got the pitcher on the mound from the other side. So you can go, you can go down here and grab some Astros bats quickly. 6,200. Whoops. Wasted Rhys Hoskins in there by accident. So let me grab Trey Mancini. We haven't used him yet. Only 5,800. He's a little popular. And let's see. 27. I got Kyle Tucker in there. And that leaves me 48. Ah, damn. It would have been nice if I could do that and get Brandon Marsh still instead of Maldonado. So you can't get Tucker there at 8, but you could get Pena if you wanted him at 74 probably. You could get Castellanos. That's kind of interesting, right? If we did that. You go full Phillies onslaught here with Trey Mancini in the middle of it. 1 in 118,000 lineup. That's definitely going to be interestingly unique. And it's a way to go, right? Nobody's saying that the Phillies are definitely going to light up Justin Verlander and put a ton of runs on him. But if you're building lineups, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Aaron Nola goes out, posts a nice game, keeps the Astros mostly off the board. Maybe Trey Mancini, let's say he doubles. Let's say the Phillies string together 2 runs, 3 runs, and these are the guys that are involved. We're there. Not the worst lineup in the world. That's somewhat playable. One more. I like this. Let's say you want to go this route. Let's say we want to just take stars. We'll go like a silly. I want Bryce Harper and Jordan Alvarez in my lineup. What can I do to put both those guys in my lineup here? So that leaves us 6,300 on the board. I think that's reasonable. We could go Gurriel, Mancini, build in some of the back end of the Astros here. You could go wrap around Maldo, doesn't really work that well. Might go Jeremy Pena, right? Let's spend a little money on Pena, correlate him with our captain. He's only 7,400, dynamite bat, on fire through the playoffs, and not the most popular guy on the board here. I think that makes some sense. Let's find a correlation piece for Harper as well here. We could probably go, can we afford Rhys Hoskins here? I think we can. I think we got enough cheap guys. Yeah, still cruising at 51.5. Plenty of average salary here. So you go Brandon Marsh to wrap around, 53. I left myself a little short on I thought. So maybe I was exaggerating a little bit when I was saying plenty of salary, but you still could use Martin Maldonado. And since we haven't, what the hell? Even with Maldonado at 34%, Brandon Marsh at 40%, the two discount dandy players on this one, this is a 94,000 lineup, a 1 in 94,000 lineup. It has more home run upside than we had in the other one because we're getting both Harper, Alvarez, and Hoskins in there, all three of them. I think it projects out around the same. There's still $700 remaining against the cap, so you're leaving a little money on the table. I think it's playable, somewhat unique lineup. I don't love the fact of using both 9 hitters in it, but it's certainly viable. And if I didn't spend up to get like Hoskins there, you could go. I know I said one more, but I get hooked on doing this stuff. Let's say you went down lineup and went Castellanos instead of Hoskins. I think that'll leave me where I wanted to be money wise, 53. So yeah, then you can go. Still a little light. All right, so you got to go down to like Bohm or Stott or somebody like that. So a lot of different ways you can go with DK lineups, but I just wanted to show the difference that you get between using one of these super chalky captains and one of the lower owned star caliber hitter captains. We'll do a quick FanDuel one. I do want to wrap this up. I don't want to go too long on a one game slate. No pitchers on FanDuel, obviously. So let's take a look. The MVP ownership, star ownership, util ownership right here. And we're seeing obviously a lot of attention going to star caliber hitters. But let's find a good MVP option here. And I think a good MVP option might just be Rhys Hoskins off the top of the board. 7,500 on the FanDuel slate, 5% owned in the MVP. I was originally thinking JT Realmuto, but he's a little bit more popular than Hoskins is. So let's go with Rhys Hoskins here in the MVP spot. I like getting a little bit of correlation with my MVPs, but I don't know that I want to load up Schwarber on top of him at 85. It's not like we don't have the money to, but I just feel like that'll be a popular, Hoskins and him in the star. If we went wrap around into the star and you're just shooting for that, maybe they don't score the first time through the lineup, but they get down to Brandon Marsh, he gets on, Schwarber doesn't get on, Rhys Hoskins goes yard. Now we're talking, we get the MVP for the home run with the upside, and then we get the correlated play from the bottom of the lineup with the star. He's a little bit lower owned. It's a little bit interesting. So we'll see how that works in the star position. Brandon Marsh is 2% owned, so I mean that's a big deal here. So we'll deal with that. I'm taking a look at some of these other numbers here. Why is that coming up as 0.2? Might be something funky with my lookup on this ownership. Some of these multiplications might be off now that I'm noticing that that's coming up as 0.2% and it's supposed to be 2%. Why is it pulling the MVP ownership? That's why. Sometimes these things just get a little haywire. Let's not worry about the ownership for the moment. We'll just build out a single game lineup here. So Hoskins, Marsh, we just talked through that, potential correlation on that. It'll be lower owned because we're using Brandon Marsh at 2% ownership in the star spot. Let's find some good util guys, 7,600 to work with. We can afford to do a lot of different things like grabbing Kyle Tucker. Let's put Kyle Tucker in there. 75. Grab some Bregman. 8,500 left. You can do just basically whatever you want. Jose Altuve, Kyle Schwarber. You want to go Kyle Schwarber, load that thing up. Yeah, the uniques are screwed up here. This is pulling the wrong info. Is it just a matter of yeah. So let's just go. Yeah, that one should be 9. All right. Let's do this. We'll fix this guy real quick. Yes, I still use VLOOKUP. It's just what I'm comfortable with. All right. That's the corrected uniqueness. So we're still pretty damn unique. Still nice little home run mark on that one. Not sure if what I was showing before for DK was showing that same issue. Probably not, because it was only looking at 2 spots, not that third spot. I think that's what I screwed up there. But as you can see, we use all our salary in this lineup. We've got a nice home run upside. We've got a nice projection and a decent chance of it being unique if these ownership numbers are accurate, because we're using an under-owned Hoskins here. We're using an under-owned Brandon Marsh in the star spot. You need that specific configuration of this game to come around for you, obviously. That's why they play the games. We need these things to actually happen on the field once we built the lineups. I think this is a playable FanDuel lineup. With that, gang, I appreciate everybody hanging out. I didn't mention it at all during the show, but hit the like button down there, hit the subscribe, all those good things. Make sure that you're checking out BetMGM, our great sponsors. They are offering $200 for you to go over there and just make a new account. Put $10 on any NBA money line tonight. If anybody makes it 3, you get $200. It's pretty much guaranteed cash. Not too bad. Check them out. Thank you very much, everybody. I've been Terry McBride for Stokastic. Take care.